Are you a non-native speaker who's curious about teaching English as a second language online? I'm Jamie from ESL Teacher 365, and I help teachers of all nationalities get started teaching ESL online and abroad. In this video, I'll share the advantages of teaching ESL as a non-native speaker, essential qualifications, the 3 main ways to teach online, and helpful tips to help you have a successful online teaching journey. Before we get started, share in the comments which country you're watching from. First, we need to define what a non-native speaker is, because there are non-native speakers and near-native speakers, and this is important when teaching online. For near-native speakers, these are countries where either English is widely spoken or it's one of the official languages, like Singapore, the Philippines, India. There are quite a few different countries, Nigeria, Jamaica. These would be considered near native speaking countries. You're probably using English a lot more than other countries like Spain, France, Argentina, Japan, China. Those would be considered non-native speaking countries. So what are the advantages of being a non-native English speaking teacher? First of all, you've had to go through the process of learning English. Unlike a native speaker who just absorbs it from birth, you've had to really look at the grammar, remember the vocabulary, maybe work with different accents, pick up ways to say things. And this can help you with your students because you know what the process is like. You know how challenging it is. You might have extra tips and tricks that you can share with your students that you have used to learn the language that a native speaker wouldn't have. You also don't have to have a perfect accent, and this is because you can always supplement with audio and videos in your classes. To give you an example, I actually learned Arabic from a teacher who is originally from Italy, but when I went to Egypt, I had people tell me that my accent was actually pretty good in Egyptian Arabic. And this is because my teacher gave us a lot of activities where we had to listen and repeat words, but these were being said by native speakers. They were recordings. We weren't always listening to the teacher. It was more about us listening and producing the language and then him guiding us. So think about yourself in that situation. What kind of audios or videos can you include in your classes? And of course, you can help your students by using many different accents. You can have some activities with British English, Australian English, Irish English. This way they're exposed to a big variety of accents. Let's talk about the qualifications that you'll need to teach ESL online as a non-native speaker. The first qualification you'll need is a high-quality TEFL certificate. I don't recommend free courses like Teacher Record because more online companies are starting to not accept this certificate because it's so basic. Plus, if you are really serious about teaching online, you'll want to invest in a quality TEFL certificate course. I do have a free guide that goes through many different courses that I have personally tested out, shares the pros and cons of each course, what they include, some video reviews, and my discount codes. So I will put the link for that guide here and you can download it for free. Another qualification that you should consider as a non-native or near-native English speaker is a certificate of your English level. This would be something like IELTS, Cambridge, PTE, or TOEFL. You can take one of these exams and then once you've passed, you can upload this to your profile on a teaching marketplace, or you can share that you have this with potential students as a freelancer, or some companies might ask for this certificate as well. Finally, a degree may be required by some online companies and marketplaces, but if you don't have a degree, you can still freelance teach online, or there are some companies that don't require a degree. There are 3 main ways to teach online. The first way is through online ESL companies. Not every company hires non-native or near-native speakers, so you'll need to do a bit of digging, but some examples are Twenix, and then even LingoAce is starting to hire more nationalities. This is because some companies only hire specific passports, or there may be a residency requirement, so they only hire people that are living in specific countries, no matter if they are native speakers or non-native speakers. Another important thing to know is that non-native speakers are sometimes paid less than native speakers for the same job, which is extremely unfair. So if you're not looking to be taken advantage of, I would say steer clear of the online ESL companies. While these are really good for newer teachers because materials are provided and students are kind of booked for you, it's not always the best option if you are a non-native speaker. The second option would be to teach on a marketplace. This is something like Preply or even Outschool if you are from places like South Korea, Mexico, or Spain. They are one of those platforms that only hires people living in specific countries. A marketplace is different because you're going to create a profile. Usually it has a video and a written profile, and you want to choose some sort of niche or specific topic. I teach dance on Outschool, for example, and on Preply I teach test prep English. So I have chosen some very specific things that I can market to my online students. You'll want to think about what you're good at. Are you good at maybe working with hospitality English or medical English, business English? Choose a niche and make sure your profile reflects this. I do recommend getting started on marketplaces as a non-native speaking teacher because this is a good way to get started without really jumping into freelancing first, because you are very supported by the platform, but you can usually set your own pay rate, but there are some commissions taken out to use the platform. So you're not getting as poor of pay if you're doing those online ESL companies, but you're also not earning everything that you could be with freelancing. It's a good middle ground to get started. The last option would be to freelance online teach or teach online independently. This means that you are setting up your own business. You usually have to establish this in your country, and you are finding your own students, maybe using social media, teaching local students, but teaching them online, or running ads. This is a great option for non-native speakers because you can actually charge your worth. You can also work with students in other countries that have a stronger currency, and you can teach what you're most passionate about. You will need to choose which platform you're using. Are you using Zoom, Classin, Koala Go? What are you using to teach? You'll need to source your teaching materials. You can use something like ESL Brains, Crystal Clear ESL, ESL Pals, Abridge Academy. There's a lot that goes into teaching online as a freelancer. So if you're curious about what this looks like, then you can download my free handbook that walks you through all the steps of starting your own freelance online teaching business. Let's get into some of my top tips and advice for having a successful online teaching journey, no matter if you're teaching online through ESL companies, marketplaces, or freelancing. The first one would be to be confident. I know it's really difficult as a non-native speaker to feel confident when speaking in English and teaching English when you're usually competing with native speakers, but remember those advantages that you have. You've had to learn the language. You can really understand what it's like for your students to go through that process, and don't worry, you can always supplement with audio and video from native speakers. It's really important to include a high quality video and written description when you are working on a marketplace or for your website as a freelancer. I get a lot of people sending me their resume, their written descriptions for their applications, or even their videos, and I see so many potential problems, and I can see why they aren't booking classes. For example, for the video, you want to have clear lighting and audio. You don't want it to be shaky. You usually want it to be filmed horizontally instead of vertically, and you want to have a clear call to action. Why should students book your class? It shouldn't just be rambling about your qualifications or yourself. So if you would like some help with your applications and all the process of teaching online as a new teacher, I do have an online course that you can check out called Teach Online in 10 Days that goes over how to find online teaching jobs, how to create that intro or demo video, and lots of tips and tricks. Another tip I have is to use technology to enhance your classes and make them really memorable for your students. You can use quiz apps like Kahoot, you can use the chat box in Zoom to interact, you can use something like Padlet or WordWall. There are so many different tools these days that online teachers can use. There's even virtual field trips. I suggest trying out one new tool each week or every other week or once a month and see what your students like and see how you can incorporate these into your classes. Finally, it is so important to get student reviews and testimonials. On some of the marketplaces, they will have a place where they can rate you and they can leave you a comment. So really encourage your students to do this because it will help your profile get pushed up in the algorithm. If you are a freelance online teacher, then you will want to ask your students for testimonials or reviews that you can put on your website. Of course, get their permission, but this is really important so that other potential students can see what your classes are like and what your students like about them. What questions do you have about teaching online? Leave a comment down below. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at ESLTeacher365. And if you'd like to learn about how to teach abroad as a non-native speaker, then you can watch this video next. Happy teaching!